if you want to talk about like culture shock, everything, the weather, the food, just getting to know people and how to make friends, how to navigate the system, even with the transportation system, everything was very different for me. And like I said, because I was the only Black person in my class, I didn't know who to go to talk to or ask questions when I was a bit confused, or like when I didn't know the next step to take. And I was very shy, and I didn't want anyone to think that, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. Again, and most times when you ask questions, people would sometimes even answer you and be like, it's grad school. So kind of like you should know it, you should figure it out yourself. How are you in grad school if you don't know, things like that. So it made it very difficult for me to, actually admit that I needed help in certain things too. With Carlton, it's a bit different in the sense that I have done grad school before, so I'm familiar with how grad school works, and I've lived in Canada for at least 8 years, so I'm a bit familiar with the system. And in my class, I'm not the only Black person, so that makes it a bit easier. I've got other Black classmates that are in my program, and we get along really well. So it makes life so much easier. And Carleton was actually the first grad school, that I had a Black professor. So I remember being very excited when I saw her in class. I was like, yes, it made it easier for me to feel normal, and it made it easier for me not to be afraid or scared of making mistakes. Even if there's still a little part of me that gets really nervous to like, make any mistake, or to be seen like I don't know what I'm doing, right? But it made it easier. What's the question again?
That was
Yeah.
good. No, I'll kind of jump off that if that's okay. So I did a little research too. There was a lot of people telling you should already know this.
Yes.
So I
Yeah.
found that in my research too about newcomers,
Mm-hmm.
immigrants coming to Canada for university,
Mm-hmm.
students, even undergraduate students,
Yeah.
being like moving to Canada and experiencing that is a difference between visiting a country and then moving there
Yeah.
because there's all of these unspoken rules. There's a lot of, I read some research about these interviews with these undergraduate students, and they were talking about how there was all these unspoken rules that they didn't know
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Sometimes even the look too.
What do you mean by
Uh,
the look?
So let's say, okay, for me, like when I first arrived and giving assignments, again, the educational system here is a bit different from back home, right? So here you're like writing papers and like having deadlines and things like that. And sometimes we would have like assignments, and maybe I'm not very clear with what the professor is expecting me to write, or like how to go about it. And writing is something that when I've moved here, I realized that every country, and I could be generalizing, but like every country kind of has a style of writing,
Oh, okay.
right? So the way I would write papers back home in Nigeria is a little bit different from the way the professor would expect me to write a paper here.
What's the difference? Like, how would you write them there versus
I
here?
don't know how to explain it. That's the tough thing, because what I'm saying this is because when I wrote my first paper, my professor was like, "Oh, this is not good.
Oh,
You need to rewrite it," kind of thing. And for me, that was good, right? It's the same way like when you hear people say, there are other ways of knowing, right? So like if we're given assignments, and I like back then, like, and I'm not very clear with how the professor wants us to go about this assignment. And let's say I'm asking a question, like I'm asking my classmate question, and that was back in BC, right? Sometimes the look that I got from them, and this could be me interpreting it that way, but it was not like a good look, like, oh, come out, I'll let me put you through, or let, but it was more of like, you're in grad school, like you should know this kind of thing, right? Or like, um, don't ask me kind of look.
You can just
Um,
tell. I think a lot of times when you ask a question, I can tell too when I like talk to somebody about something. Maybe it's the way they talk
yeah,
or their face, like their
yeah,
facial expression. You can tell when someone understands and when someone is like, "Why are you talking to me?"
exactly. And so most times, even when they explain it, I'm still not clear, but I'll be like, oh, I'm clear. That's fine. Just because I just like that situation is getting very uncomfortable for me, right? And I just want to kind of leave.
I've noticed that a lot too. I think with a lot of people that don't speak English very well, or a lot of times people like women of color, when someone explains it to you and then you don't really understand, but you don't want to ask again, you just say that you understand, right?
Right.
Because you know that's what the person wants to hear. And like if you
True.
ask again, then they're going to be more frustrated and they're going
True.
to be giving off all these cues like telling you that you're an idiot.
Yeah, basically.